So, the Burning Crusade is coming out, we have the date for the pre-patch now, and this right here is a video by Scotty J. What really is the best DPS in TBC Classic, all phases? Also, the thumbnail kinda goes harder. Best classes to top DPS, all phases, this is fact, not opinion. I'm kind of expecting us to look at some parses here, some logs and stuff, so let's see what he has to say. Also the volume here, I put it to be really low. Let's start here, and we'll see what happens.
Now look, there's no doubt you're going to get loads of videos popping up left, right, centre now that TBC's on the PTR telling you what the best class is to play. What's going to be top in DPS, the best tanks, the best healers, the dreaded tier lists. Which is exactly why this isn't a tier list, this is just me.
Top DPS, Rogues, Shadow Priest, Boomkin, Frost Mage.
Sat here wanting to give you actual, real, accurate information, so when you make the decision to roll a certain class because you heard it absolutely pumps in the first phase, you're not left being extremely disappointed because you went and made yourself a balanced druid. Oof. All of the information I would have based class videos on back in 2020, of course, would have revolved around my time on private servers. Some of it would have been right and some of it would have been wrong, it's just how it is. We know now, having seen multiple expansions released,
it's also usually wrong in the early phases, because the private servers that people played on back then, they basically was TBC, just like the way those phases were. In TBC Classic, everything was based on the final version of the class, so basically we had hunters from the last patch. They've gone through all of the class changes until the last patch. Classic is usually based on the last version of that expansion, right? TLDR, the first raids in TBC Classic, classes were different than they were on private servers.
That even the minor adjustments Blizzard make along the way can have big impacts on the overall DPS or healing charts. Think Wrath of the Lich King with Feral or Retribution Paladins having glyphs added to things like Omen of Clarity and Hand of Reckoning. No one saw that coming, and it really did give them classes that little push they needed to remain competitive. They did the same in Mr. Pandaria Classic as well, but on a bigger scale, and the same really could happen this time around in TBC.
They've also made some changes to shamans, for example, already in TBC, where they are going to be slightly less desired now, but I personally believe this has more of an impact in pugs or casual raids. Because yes, heroism or bloodlust will now be raid-wide, so not group-specific, which kind of takes away that whole need to have one shaman per group. That being said, top raids, like guilds, top guilds, top raids, parsing raids, they will still probably have 4 shamans, between 4 and 5 depending on the group setups they have, because the totems. People keep forgetting that totems are quite important, but for casual groups, like having heroism and bloodlust be raid-wide instead of group-specific will make a huge impact, and it makes it so that you can bring one shaman now and you're fine, but for parsing and like literally eking out that little bit of extra damage, those totems are really good. So a lot of people still want to bring at least 4 shamans, maybe even 5.
It's very unlikely there's going to be class tuning because honestly, I feel like Blizzard kind of just want low effort, maximum return, just get it out, but do take it as a...
Yeah, that's what Blizzard does all the time, by the way. Minimum effort, maximum reward. I've been saying that exact sentence since Classic WoW 2019. And it's weird, but now it's no different. Who would have thought?
Pre-warning that everything I'm about to talk you through is relevant, assuming we get no class changes from the first time round in Classic TBC. So, where are we going to go and get this information? Well, logs, obviously. Different
Solheim Gaming on YouTube.
Between original Classic TBC and Anniversary is we already know how every spec's going to perform in this state of the game and no longer need to have any reliance on private servers for the information. Wowhead at the end of each phase did a full article on how each spec performed, so we have cold hard facts on what your character in each phase should be able to do once you get some gear. And in fact, when we look at the first phase, this is actually assuming just like pre-raid BIS, so that's a really good comparison which we're going to look at. But look, let's dive in and take a look, but more importantly, let's see what classes hold their own throughout and which ones climb as the expansion goes on. Now in the first tier of content, obviously, it's a little bit weird because you've got a 10-man and then you've got 25-man. So your 10-man is Karazhan, your 25-man is Mag and Grawl. Now this is going to really change based on how much gear you have because the bosses in general haven't got that much health anyway, And especially if they do go through with what they've said as in everything being post-nerf, they're all going to have even less health. So this analysis of Tier 4 Burning Crusade DPS.
It is worth noting that even changes like that, by the way, which are not even class changes, will have an impact on certain classes. And I kind of want to bring up one spec in particular here, Arcane Mage. Arcane mages in TBC usually perform better on short fights compared to long fights due to mana issues, so having raids being launched in their post-nerf state could make arcane mages even better than they otherwise would have been on certain fights where you go fire instead. I think like for mage in general, but especially arcane mage, you tend to have slightly some mana issues, right? And a boss fight being shorter will impact mage. Without even you don't even have to do anything to mage, just literally making the boss fights shorter will impact the mage and better their DPS.
Rankings was actually week 2, so it was only week 2 of raids, so no one would have been in full BIS, but everyone would have been full pre-raid BIS with maybe a few raid items, maybe 4 or 5 if they got lucky. And as you would expect in both Magferidan's Lair and Gruul's Lair, Beast Mastery Hunters are absolutely pumping. Now, if you're not aware why they would be pumping, it's because they get so much damage just from their dungeon set, so the Beast Lord 4 set, and this really carries them through the entire first phase of content. Now, Destruction Warlock and even Demonology Warlock were both performing very well as well in Magferidan's Lair, whereas you'll see Arcane Mage in second, just below Beast.
It's so funny to me because I've made a tier list as well. Yes, sure, a tier list, haha, lol, lemao. But I made a tier list and I ranked the Demonology Warlocks quite high. And a couple of the comments are trying to clown me on it, but we literally have the facts here. We have the logs, we have the parses. And in both of these ones that he's showing, Demonology here is number 3. It's performing better than Destruction. And here as well, Demonology is right under Destruction, once again number 3. So I feel like me ranking Demonology that high isn't really that much of a meme.
Second, just below Beast Mastery Hunters in Kara, and this is because it's 10 man, so the bosses do die pretty quick anyway, and with an Arcane Mage, the only thing that limits the amount of damage that you can physically do is your mana pool. So if you're absolutely ripping through the bosses, then you don't need to worry about innovates and evocating and actually stopping doing damage, and you can just spam Arcane Blast, you're going to be top. And then when we're looking at Kara, you'll see the Warlocks are then under the Mages, and then it's Fire Mages, Fury Warriors, and then kind of everybody else. Magferidan and Gruul as well is more or less the same, except you see Shadow Priest significantly higher here, and that's because you've got fights where you can multi-dot, well, mainly High King Mulgar, where you can just multi-dot. Now, it looks completely different fast forward into the end of Phase 1, where everybody's got gear, everybody's killing the bosses so much faster, and actually, Arcane Mage is massively on top now. And again, it's because everybody's got gear, everybody's pumping, the bosses are dying so much faster that Arcane Mage can just blast. And people probably realised very quickly that Arcane Mages were the key to being able to speed run and do speed kills, that they started stacking more and more Arcane Mages as well. But what you'll notice is Fury Warrior has climbed a little bit as well. And unfortunately, in this expansion, much like Vanilla to be fair, the hybrids do struggle. Balance Druids, Shadow Priests, they're all quite far down. Now again, when we move into Phase 2, which is SSC and TK, nothing really changes all that much. The thing that you will notice is you'll start to see Combat Rogues and specifically Fury Warriors starting to climb each phase. Each phase we look at, the Fury Warrior is getting higher and higher, and even the Combat Rogue is sneaking up a little bit. And that's because we're talking about 2 physical damage dealers that scale with weapons. As they get access to better weapons, they just do a lot more damage. Like, they scale much better with weapons than anything else. And as for a warrior, the more damage you're doing, the more rage you get in, the more damage you can do. It's just one big vicious circle. Well, it's not vicious, it's a lovely circle, really. But Arcane Mage is still on top, and the Arcane Mage's Tier 5 set is absolutely banging as well, so I would kind of expected the Arcane Mages to still be on top. Now, when we're talking about pre-nerf and post-nerf, there was actually Phase 2 and there was Phase 2.5. So in Phase 2, it was all pre-nerf, and in Phase 2.5, which is what they kind of based it on, so you didn't have pre-nerf logs with post-nerf logs. So Phase 2.5 was still Phase 2, it was still only SSC and TK, but Phase 2.5 was the post-nerf state. Where in the post-nerf state, you can see Hydros, which is the first boss in SSC, had 10% less health, the Lurker had 28% less, a couple of them weren't changed, don't get me wrong, but Lady Vash, 20% less health, and there was mechanics that were taken out. Like, there were big changes, and the most substantial, outside of mechanics, because I'm not being funny, mechanics in TBC are not difficult to deal with, although some people may make them seem difficult, but really knocking this amount of health off of these, like KT having 40% less health, and then you're just taking more mages and everyone's blasting, the bosses die really fast. So yeah, when you think about post-nerf raids, it does actually benefit arcane mages more than anybody else. And you might be like, oh, well, what about Shadow Priest or Boomkins who struggle for mana? No, an arcane mage relies purely on their mana pool, and they do ridiculous damage. So less health on the boss dies quicker, you need to worry about mana less, you can just blast. And then
it's kind of like I said, right? Having access to post-nerf raids will make arcane mages better, even though they're not really making any changes to arcane mage, they're just making a change to the raid itself. But that change massively benefits arcane mage.
skipping all the way forward to like the end of phase wrap up for tier 6, you'll see it looks very, very different. So in Black Temple and Hydro, again, all of this we're looking at the 95th percentile. So basically like the top 5% of players for each class and spec. And then we're looking at damage to bosses. So all the bosses in the raids that we're actually looking for. So Black Temple and Hydro, for example, all the bosses combined, you got BM Hunters on top, Fury Warriors very, very close. And then, to be fair, Destrolock, Combat Rogue, Arcane Mage, Survival Hunter, Arms Warrior, Rep Paladin, they're not all miles away. It's still just those support classes at the bottom that are really struggling, the likes of Shadow Priest, Ellie Shaman, Balance Druid. But it is nice to see Rep Paladin go up, but again, weapons, they will scale better with weapons than the hybrid casters will. But on the basis that you're going to have your warriors and rogues have access to Warglaives of Azzinoth, there's no surprise that they are going to climb in this phase and then still be really strong in Sunwell, obviously. So what we notice from looking at all of this really is Beastmaster stays very strong throughout the entire expansion. And while we're not looking at Sunwell, because I think that's so far away it's not worth worrying about, then the hunters get access to the legendary bow, which, if I remember rightly, it was very similar to not using it, as in the legendary bow wasn't a massive DPS increase, or maybe it wasn't a DPS increase at all because of how fast it was. Now, don't quote me on that because I've never really been no hunter expert, but I kind of remember the hunters not being that bothered whether they got it or not. But forgetting that, BM Hunter stays competitive from the moment you walk through the Dark Portal to the moment you're getting ready for Wrath of the Lich King. The same goes for mages, Fury Warriors, bit of a slow starter, but then they just absolutely take off, obviously, as soon as they get them legendaries, same as Combat Rogue. And Warlock stays really strong all the way through as well. So if you're looking for a reliable class that you're going to enjoy all the way through the expansion and always feel pretty powerful in comparison to others, you're looking at BM Hunter, Destruction Warlock, Demonology Warlock, Survival Hunter, Arcane Mage, Fury Warrior. And then I'm going to tack Combat Rogue on even at the end, but you're going to be less relevant in the first couple of phases and then obviously really blow up once you start to get Warglaives. Now, I just wanted to really put this information in front of you all. I don't want it to put you off what class you want to play. Let's say you want to be an Ellie Shaman, just play an Ellie Shaman. You'll do just fine. But if you're one of those people that want to go in with their eyes open and know what's going to be a really, really strong class from start to finish because all you're bothered about is topping damage, now you've got the information. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. I know you've probably noticed by now that I've got mock videos going out, midnight videos going out, TBC videos going out. That's because I've decided I just want to play it all. At the moment, I've been focusing purely on Mr. Pandaria for ages, and then Kata before that. Well, actually, I want to just play all versions of the game because at the moment, I'm enjoying all versions of the game and what they've got to offer. So, just in case you was a bit confused and you was like, pick a lane. I don't want to pick a lane. I want to be in all of them.
Solheim was right.
Okay, that was a good video, by the way. And thank you for the follow over here on Kick. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel the same way as he does, by the way. To me, there's not enough updates happening in one version of the game to keep me, like, interested all the time. I want to play them all. Like, in Classic, I've been waiting. TBC pre-patch should have been here in December, so this being here in January already kills a lot of my hype in December. I was really hoping to be playing some Blood Elf or Draenei during Christmas, and just, like, spending my winter that I'm already spending inside anyway, playing some TBC pre-patch, but then I have to wait until January, so now I'm literally checking out Mist of Pandaria. I'm playing some Mist of Pandaria, some Anniversary, we're playing some Midnight. I'm even thinking about taking a day or two and play Guild Wars, like, it's crazy. It's just, yeah, I would rather just try things at the moment and just play some video games, you know? I fully support what it's doing, just playing different versions of WoW and just having a good time, right? But that was a good video on a reality check on which classes are good, in what phase and why.